Dobro večera. Laskor prosimo do utok, da mi ne vidimo korupcijo. Sodni domeni prednjetje kal, jaki victvilje korupcijo. And that's about as best we can do in terms of supporting Ukraine. We're just butchering their language for a hot minute there. But we do have some common cause with them. We too hate corrupt fuckers ruining our lives. Kyle, you have imparted onto me a special love of pointing out corrupt practices and corrupt acts, and a special love of digging into the whys and wherefores of corruption in our system. So,
Honestly,
I know I brought to you a news
thing
article
that anyone has ever said to me.
I referred to you a news article about the Victorian Independent Broad-Based Anti-Corruption Commission, and how that's playing out. You mentioned to me that there was an issue you recalled with the Queensland Crime and Corruption Commission, which I've just re-familiarized myself with.
Yeah,
so,
and last episode we also touched on...
Why don't our corruption commissions have teeth, Kyle?
Yeah, and well, last week we also last episode we touched on the failings of transparency in the new National Anti-Corruption Commission. Where essentially the strength or lack thereof regarding our anti-corruption commissions in Australia, even at a fairly cursory glance, is quite noticeable. Just a few examples and the reasons, like the natural outcomes of those. We have the New South Wales ICAC is underfunded, therefore unable to get to all the investigations, which it really needs to, as New South Wales is probably the most corrupt state in the country.
No. We still haven't caught up with Queensland.
I mean, debatable, but that's for another time.
If you look at their average corruption per year, Joe Bjelke-Peterson threw the stats right out. So we have a little bit of a buffer.
That was 30 odd years ago. No, God.
And the effects are still being felt.
I mean, kind of, yeah. You're not wrong, but still, it's look, either way, in the last decade, the most corrupt state in the country has been New South Wales, and ICAC is underfunded. They're under the Liberals.
You can have it all in New South Wales.
They were stripped of funding under the Liberal government, and so then there is the Victorian IBAC. It restricts its criminal investigations. So it restricts its investigations to suspected criminal conduct. So even something which would meet the definition of the word corruption, if it's not technically criminal, then it can't investigate it. It doesn't have the mandate to do so.
Yes, but technically speaking, I would like to quickly refer to Operation Sandon, which has been running for 5 years in the IBAC, and that has demonstrated, and I quote in the words of Acting Commissioner Farrow, how ministers, members of parliament, councillors, ministerial advisors, and electorate officers may be targeted by lobbyists, and how limitations in the current regulation of lobbyists present corruption vulnerabilities, which is a thing that you and I have talked about, and it really does sound like IBAC is trying to get ahead and act as a preventative influence on further corrupt acts, which is to be commended.
Yes, I will very much give them that. With what they've had to work around a crap definition, or rather a crap mandate, but they've done well with it. So the people there are amazing. It's the mandate that's the problem. Now, that's sort of, with New South Wales, can't get around to the amount of investigations needed. Corruption still runs rampant. With Victoria, they have to work around the mandate. basically needs a lot of improvement. So they can't do as many investigations unless they manage to somehow, in a roundabout way, stick it within that mandate. In Queensland, there's they're unable to refer to matters for prosecution. The definition, I forget when that was changed. Do you have a year for that?
That was changed in 2018.
Yeah, 2018.
There was previously an agreement between the CCC and the Department of Public Prosecutions that had been in effect since 2016, basically saying, we throw you these cases, you prosecute, please. And in 2018, there was a change to the legislation that empowered the Crime and Corruption Commission. And that change specifically disempowered them from referring matters to prosecution.
Wait, you say it empowered them, but then you say it
the act empowers them. The change disempowered them. The Crime and Corruption Commission is an example of delegated power in our democracy. They are given the scope to perform certain functions to ensure that society runs. And the act that allowed them to do that had its legs cut out from underneath it.
Yeah, so it sounds like, in simple layman's terms, they were given more juice, but they were restricted in where they could spend that.
It's the Crime and Corruption Act 2001 is the act that underpins the Crime and Corruption Commission.
Yeah. So those are three of the best state-based anti-corruption commissions in the country, and they all have massive problems. We've seen the value of what some of them can do. New South Wales ICAC. I mean, as one YouTuber that I watch put it, it wasn't a surprise when ICAC handed down its final conclusions on Gladys Berejiklian, because we'd seen the public hearings. Everyone could see she was corrupt. That was part of what led. To the coalition's defeat in New South Wales in 2022. And there are good things that you can say about the other two as well. But because we're running out of time, I'll just sort of move on and say, even though they have certain strengths, these weaknesses far outweigh and far overshadow those strengths. They restrict them. Now, on top of that, there's two things that that they can't do, that none of them can do, that I think would be very valuable. The first is that they don't have a mandate to collaboratively investigate potential corruption that spans multiple levels of government or multiple governments. They don't particularly have a mandate to collaborate with each other. They don't particularly have a mandate to collaborate with the new National Anti-Corruption Commission. And
the new National Anti-Corruption Commission is also currently in a backlog of hundreds of cases. So even if this had happened off the bat, they'd hit the ground running with those powers, and with powers ascribed to the state anti-corruption watchdogs, it would still be a massive amount of time before we saw the benefits of that collaboration.
Yeah, and so we're already starting from way behind, and and the fight against corruption is falling further behind because of these very artificial limitations and lack of true strength in our anti-corruption commissions. I'd say the New South Wales ICAC is probably the best, but again, we're still the most corrupt state in the country, at least for the last decade. It's crazy to think that we have the best.
There's so much work to do.
Yeah, and when it's far from complete, that work. Again, they're very underfunded. And the biggest thing, about that everyone in sort of independent media and myself have noticed about the National Anti-Corruption Commission, the new federal one, is that as I touched on last episode, it's it doesn't have, like, it can't hold public hearings except in exceptional circumstances. To reach exceptional, and again, it's very vaguely defined. What counts as exceptional circumstances? It's a lot of people have taken to calling it not the NAC, NACC NAC, but rather the SNAC, the Secret National Anti-Corruption Commission.
Is it at least tasty?
I'll leave that for us to figure out. But now what I can think about is that. But anyway, that's kind of all of this. Really brings me to the point that what we need is for all of the best powers of all of these anti-corruption commissions, but none of the limitations. And we haven't quite got that. We haven't quite got that in any of them. We've got, like, don't get me wrong, it's good to have them, and on the whole, they're better than they are more good than they are bad. However, these limitations, they don't see them doing the job that they need to do to the fullest capacity, nor does it see them end corruption. We need a permanent end to corruption, and an anti-corruption commission isn't the only answer to that. We need changes in campaign finance laws. We need changes in, when it comes to lobbying and various other things. I'd say campaign finance laws is probably the biggest one. However, more so than that, at least right now, what these anti-corruption commissions need to do is they need more funding, greater investigative powers, the power of prosecution, and a mandate to be able to work together across different levels of government. If it had all of those, I think they would have true strength. Politicians would actually almost be afraid of these things, like quite afraid. It's as one person once put it, put the fear of God into these people, and then we'd certainly see a lot less corruption.
I agree with you, but also just the concept of making a politician afraid, because it's something you so rarely see, right? You so rarely see it, even in newscasts where politicians will deflect really accusatory questions effortlessly. It's so rare that you see something said where a politician just has that moment of, oh no. And I think that more newscasts with politicians who are very clearly trying to retain the cleanliness of their pants would be a thing of beauty. I think that it would inspire confidence in the Australian people, which is another huge factor with an anti-corruption initiative of any sort. You have to be able to convince the populace that what you're doing is working and that they are better off for it. And when you hobble the anti-corruption commissions, it is easy to say, oh, they're not worth the trouble, we should abolish them.
And on that, I would say that, a lot of people talk about trust in public institutions. Well, it's not trust that's the problem. It's whether or not these public institutions are worthy of that trust. That needs to be fixed first. And stronger anti-corruption commissions that can work between different levels of government and collaborate and have stronger mandates and prosecution powers will certainly do that. And we're basically running over time now, so I think we'll leave it there. But thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and have a good one.
See you all later.